Hey there, fans of brotherly love wrestling. It is I, Vic Delicious.
Philly's own, the Mecca here.
It is the real McCoy, J.D.X. Justin D. Xavier. And
it's your man, CD, the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City.
Hey there, brotherly love wrestling. Bill Carr here.
Hey everyone, this is two-time guest Wheeler Yuta.
Two bozos from Philadelphia flapping their gums about pro wrestling this, pro wrestling that.
Which is not that unique in the grand scheme of things yet.
You are in for a treat because you're tuned in to Brotherly Love Wrestling.
Philadelphia, are you ready?
No! They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
All right, so we are back with part 2. Because we weren't done with Dan, we have still a lot to cover. And we wanted to make this a little manageable in listening.
Well, I'm going to say this, and if you want to keep it as part of the show, then keep it in. Imagine, instead of Jack Perry, CM Punk, imagine it was, I mean, it's even hard to, Adrian Adonis and Hulk Hogan. And Adrian Adonis goes out there and tries to go into business for himself, you know, against Hulk, or even just something stupid, you know, and just that most people just tuning in have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who would have blamed Hulk for going to Vince and went, you got to get this guy out of here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is that Vince would have listened
to Hulk or
to Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you mean from the beginning, like when there were issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if Punk goes to Tony and says you got to get rid of this guy, Tony's not going to listen.
Well, I mean that I sent out a bunch of tweets during that time too, and it was, you know, captions that's like Tony Khan, I was afraid for my life.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, LOL, Nails tried to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, Tony Khan, I was afraid for my life. Vince McMahon, LOL, I tried to fight Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
yeah.
Again, that's part of the whole, like, you know, I could spend all day talking about what a terrible person Vince McMahon was, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the guy put his money where his mouth was when it came to his business. And the dude literally took all of his bumps after the age of 50 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
because
that's
he knew
insane.
It was best for business.
Yeah.
Yes. I had to remind my one friend. It was during I had to bring up some old PTSD where I was like, you don't remember Kevin Owens headbutting old man Vince McMahon?
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any memory of it, and I had to send it to him, and he was like, "Well, what did you cut?" I'm like, "No, he told Kevin Owens to
hit
take
me as
your
hard
head
as you
and...
can." Yeah.
Yeah.
Psycho. Vince was a psycho.
Well, I mean, you guys were there in Philly. You said then when Roman won the title, then you saw what happened when Roman punched Vince right before the end of that match. I mean, the place went nuts. I remember watching that on TV and also thinking, like, this guy's 2 years old at the time?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, like we were talking about, we left off, we were talking about Dan meeting Bray Wyatt and the almost, like you said, at least career-changing look just by meeting.
Altering.
Yeah, altering. That's a good word for it. Meeting Bray. So now I'm going to keep what we were just talking about. A lot of people were hearing about why you said Adonis versus Hogan and all that. We were talking about AEW. And we were talking about, at least for me and anyone who listens to our show knows my view and Joe's view on AEW and how we feel about it and the way we feel about it. When you look at AEW,
don't get me started.
Look, this is for the guests. We know how you feel already. When you look at AEW, as a life
Or relax.
as a lifelong wrestling fan, the pros and cons that they may have. What draws you to AEW, and then what can turn you off with AEW?
I think having a wrestling promotion that is well funded is very important.
Mhm.
So WWE is not the only big game in town. I think Tony Khan is quite possibly the worst businessman of all time. And I have absolutely zero faith that he's going to be able to pull it off. Well, I mean, as CM Punk said, it's going to go as long as Tony wants it to run. So at
Or
any
his
point,
dad pulled the checkbook. I mean,
exactly. And it's one of those things where I've had this debate with my friends who are AEW fans, and he goes, "Well, what's wrong with, having the promotion just give the fans what they want?" And I said, the problem is you're giving the he's only giving the fans who are buying the tickets what they want, and eventually those fans are just going to grow old of
Yeah.
it quick. And
they're already losing them.
yeah, and I still consider myself a fan of the Bucks. I've never considered myself to be a major fan. I always looked at them like they were the worst part of the Bullet Club. I never cared for their actual matches, but I at least can appreciate some of the stuff that they can do in the ring, because it does take talent to do that. But I said as soon as AEW gets a television deal, I'm like, the fans are going to be turned off by this really quick, because I I don't know about you guys, but growing up where I did in Cleveland, the air show came through town once a year, and my parents would take us to the air show every day when it came to town. So we were there 2, 3 times, you know, during the. And by the time I was 8, 9 years old, I was so fucking tired of the air show, to the point now where, as an
Mom, I'm
adult,
sick
the
of
air.
hearing this fucking air show.
Yeah, it's like,
God.
well, I mean, I know so many people are like, "Oh man, the Blue Angels are coming to town. We get to see the Blue Angels put on a show." I'm just like, I'm so fucking tired of the Blue Angels.
You say that word one more time, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
And I will. I'll go to this, and this is very, very, very anti-Philadelphia of me to say this, because it happens once a year, and everyone
Moment
makes
parade?
makes a giant deal about it, and it is the New Year's Day parade, the Mummers, which
Yeah.
Seth Rollins came out with at WrestleMania 40, which literally gave me chills. I have chills right now because of my grandmother loved them, and that was one thing that she loved. But I fucking hate the Mummers Day Parade. I fucking hate it with a passion. It's a bunch of drunk Italian and Irish dudes.
South Philly ever again.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of drunk Italian, Irish dudes who've been drinking since 3 a.m. and parading down Broad Street drunk in feathers and fucking sparkles. And it's fucking stupid. Like, I hate it. And that, but again, that's the same thing. Philadelphians love it. They love, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
So did you pop when Seth Rollins came out and CM Punk just dropped the line, "Look at this goof"?
Well, see, we were there for night 2. So like,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like,
Okay.
It wasn't so much after.
That.
Yeah, we didn't pop for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I popped for it for personal reasons. I actually, watching it, got filled up because I thought of my grandmother who passed away. So like,
Right.
it was different for me at that point. But like, the whole concept of that parade, I can't stand. And like, but that, to the same point of the Blue Angels, like if the Blue Angels came to Philadelphia, I'd be like, holy shit, I want to see that. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds pretty fucking
Right.
cool because I've never seen it. But something that you see every single year and it happens, it's just like, there's a point where it's like, all right, man, I've had enough.
Well, I mean, WWE did that with frickin' Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Where
Everybody.
in 2021, when did Roman Reigns wrestle Rey Mysterio in Hell in a Cell on a SmackDown? Was it 2021 or 2020?
I want to
Was it
say 20.
Bloodline?
I think it was 21.
Because of, yes, you're right. Because if you remember, he wrestled Rey on SmackDown. Then at the pay-per-view, they had Orton and Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell. Then they had another Hell in a Cell match. I forgot which one it was. And then the next night on Raw, it was Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods inside Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Where it was just like, I'm fucking tired of Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
There's so
You know.
many other matches. Give me another match for the love of God.
How about just a regular match with rules?
Yeah.
With stipulations that, if the guy grabs the rope, you
Fucking
have to
takes
break
another
the
pole
hold.
match, God damn it.
Yeah, it's hey, what happens if a guy stays outside the ring longer than 10 seconds? Like, give me
Does anyone honor the count anymore? I see there's so many
No.
things that they don't honor anymore.
At least on night one of WrestleMania, you saw the referee count, and The Rock looked at the referee and said, "If you count, you're fired."
Yeah.
I was like, okay, at
They
least you
acknowledge the count.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The bloodline is
Exactly.
all about acknowledgement.
Yeah. But going back to what you were saying, I have absolutely zero faith in Tony Khan.
Yeah.
He's put all of his efforts into the wrong people.
He's a fan. That's all he cares about. He's just a fan with money, with lots of it.
But
So
at
he's
the end of the day, it's like, dude, is Chris Jericho going to wrestle for another 15 years? Because the answer to that is no. But MJF will. Put
Yeah.
more time in MJF.
Yeah.
It is.
MJF is in the wrong building.
He is. But it's also, what was I just fucking watching? And like two guys are getting into a face-off with each other, and I'm watching it, and as a 36-year-old man going, I could whoop both of their asses.
So does that take you out of it when you see wrestlers?
Yes.
Okay. So you more of a old school mindset of these maybe not giant guys, but bigger guys that look like wrestlers. Like what do you think of like an Adam Cole?
When Adam Cole was in NXT, he looked different. He looked like an athlete at least.
He was presented differently too.
And I can give you a pass. At least somebody like Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, again, however you want to refer to him as, I can at least look at him and go, this guy fights exactly how he looks. Same thing with Sami Zayn. I look at Sami Zayn and go, this guy's kind of like a scrappy looking dude. Like worst case scenario, this guy might like just
he looks like a mess, and he's coming at you like a mess.
Yeah.
He's just throwing shit like that, going wild.
It looks good though.
I mean, jumping through the fucking ropes for a DDT.
Yeah, but like I watch this, and I've had this argument with friends before too, and I will say this: I think Jon Moxley is quite possibly the worst wrestler of all time. When you look at the actual in-ring ability, and you look at the list of accomplishments,
It's how and why.
Why? Because it's like at least the Ultimate Warrior threw somewhat of a believable punch at times.
I mean,
like I don't think I've ever watched Jon Moxley throw one punch where I'm like, yeah, I that would hurt me. Well, it's like, and you also think about that match he had with Brock at WrestleMania, where he was pissed off that Brock didn't want to do all this shit because I think he explained it to Brock. He was like, yeah, we'll get like thumbtacks and barbed wire and we'll get this and that. And Brock was like, no. Yeah. And then there was that rumor that went around for a while, and it's probably not true, but I hope it is, where it was like Brock told him, it's like, listen, how about you try to have the match that you want to have, and then I'll have the match that I want to have. And when we're done having my match,
absolutely,
I'll just go to the hotel, get some room service, because it's only going to take me about 90 seconds to beat the piss out of you.
Yeah, legit, because Brock can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody else did it the Brock way, and Brock makes you look good if you're actually trying. He made Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Finn Balor.
That AJ Styles match was awesome.
Phenomenal. AJ Styles, was some of the best work ever.
Yeah, I think. Also look at who he's been willing to work with. Like he put over Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins.
McIntyre actually looks like out of all of them, Drew McIntyre is the most put together to look like he could actually give Brock somewhat of a fight. Even though we all know that Brock, look, he rocked fucking Braun Strowman, almost knocked him unconscious because fucking Strowman threw a wild knee at him and he ate it and then fucking put one right on the sweet spot.
Brock Lesnar beat Randy Couture in UFC when Randy Couture might have been a little older, but Randy Couture is a badass, and he made him look like a child. Like Brock Lesnar is no fucking joke. And in wrestling, it doesn't matter whether people want to call it fake or not. Like that dude, if he can make you look good, that's what it is.
That many suplexes at that small of time frame, that's gotta fucking hurt. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
By the time you hit like 3, 4, 8, 10, like you're like, all right, I'm fucking done.
Well, I mean, it's kind of Brock is what, and Jerry Jarrett was a much smaller man, but Jerry Jarrett used to say, you don't have to believe it's real, but you're not going to think I'm fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brock does give you that. And the big reason why Brock was always the big draw that he was after all those years, because A, Vince McMahon put out such shitty television, and B, if there's one person that's just going to go into it for himself at any point, you believed it was going to be Brock.
Yeah.
And you tuned in because at some point you were thinking, hey, he might just haul off and just punch this guy as hard as he can.
Yeah.
You know?
It's because he wants to.
Because he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most dangerous person in WWE.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
So Dan,
but Brock's cowboy hat run, one of my favorites.
Yeah. That is tops in Brock
Lesnar. Brock was absolutely priceless.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Brock is probably the number 2 most dangerous man in WWE. I give number 1 to Jimmy Uso after he'd been drinking and he gets the keys to the car.
Ouch.
Got him. I forgot we were dealing with a comedian.
Hey, yo.
Dan, you said you were
no respect.
A WCW fan, obviously. And I know you said you keep up with everything. Now, do you watch NXT? Because Sunday is Halloween Havoc, one of the best WCW pay-per-view gimmicks ever. Spin the wheel, make the deal. And so, do you watch, or are you going to watch Sunday for NXT?
I'll watch at some point. I'll watch. I probably won't watch Sunday night, but throughout the week next week, I'll be tuning in little by little just to see the matches. NXT is
Hershey.
Yes,
what's that?
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's Hershey, PA. Yeah, I was just actually in Hershey, PA earlier this year. At Laughing Stock Comedy Club. Give them a follow. Fun place.
Did you get the chocolate?
No. I didn't. I didn't have enough time for myself. I actually had the show where I got the hat. I was in Hagerstown the night before, and it's only like an hour drive. But
really?
Whenever I'm on the road,
to Harrisburg,
from Hagerstown to Hershey was only about an hour drive.
Yeah, Hershey.
But hey, how far is Harrisburg from you guys, by the way?
Hour and a half.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll be in Harrisburg at the Comedy Zone in January. So if you guys got time, come on out. I think it's January 11th and 12th. It's Friday and Saturday. Right. What's that?
That's the weekend, I'm assuming.
It's a Friday, Saturday, yeah. But I wasn't able to stop and get any kind of chocolate because I was screwing around too much, and I stop at Lids everywhere I go along the way, and I bought like 6 hats that weekend just from stopping.
That Lid stays in business that long for you to get every fucking hat.
Oh yeah, well, they got me, so they know they know if I walk through the door, here comes somebody who's willing to spend some money. But yeah, it's I'll watch NXT at some point here. Same thing as tonight. I mean, I got a recording. I'll just fast forward through what I don't like. Pretty much anything Ava Raine picks up a microphone and talks. Just skip right over that shit. My God, did the apple fall far from the tree on that one, dude? And I kind of feel bad for her. You know what I mean? Because it's like when Curtis Axel was wrestling, and I think it was like Mark Madden who said something that was like, it's he doesn't belong in his dad's business. And you could tell that Curtis Axel was a really good guy who was trying really hard. And
he found his own. Axelmania was his own.
I thought the thing with him and Sandow was awesome.
Yeah.
And also him with Bo Dallas as the
I was going to say that. Him and Bo Dallas, especially when they mocked Bray
Yes.
And Bray and Matt Hardy, and he did Broken Matt, and Bo did Bray. Like, that shit was funny.
And I felt that was another thing. They just took the legs out right underneath, just cut the legs out and just went, okay, well, we're done with this now. And there was so much more. They came out with they just came out with the letter B on their shirt.
Yeah, in permanent marker.
It was great.
Yes.
It was just
sold shirts for $20 with, or more than that, $30 with a B with fake permanent marker.
Yes. Yeah.
Dude, years ago I won I wouldn't say I won. I was friends with the guy on the radio station in Akron, and he was like, "Hey, do you want the wrestling tickets?" And so he gave it to me. He was like, "You just got to pick them up at the station." And I picked them up at the station, and they also had like a gift basket kind of thing, like a gift bag.
Gift basket too?
Well, it was like a program from like WrestleMania like 2 years earlier or something, which was kind of cool. And it was the Jack Swagger hand over the chest t-shirt.
We the people.
The t-shirt?
The t-shirt. But it was like a triple X. It was like they were just like, okay, we'll give these out to anybody. And I don't have no idea what happened to it. I probably got rid of it on accident, but I just remember looking
tablecloth.
But I remember I was looking at it one day. I was like, who bought this? Like,
we the people bought this.
We the people bought it.
So
I saw a shirt upstairs with Carlito that says "I know cool."
Yeah, that's a good shirt though.
I remember being teenagers and my buddy bought the Carlito "Do you spit or swallow" t-shirt.
It's such a great shirt.
We're 16 years old and like we're at the whatever the stadium was called, or the arena, Gund Arena back then. Like we're just like hanging out, and like we're clearly kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll take the spit or swallow t-shirt. Yeah, we'll give that to a 15-year-old. Why not?" You know.
It was
money's all the same color. Don't matter.
It was a simpler time back then.
It was.
Questions. We weren't nosy.
I went to the WWE restaurant in Times Square back in
WWE New York.
The food was awful.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was just a freshman in high school. So, I mean, we went for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That was like one of my mom's dreams. And while we were there, she was like, my mom realized that like I wasn't going to be into any of that kind of stuff. But she was like, hey, there's a WWE restaurant. Like, let's at least go there for lunch one day. I walked around the store for at least a half an hour, just picking up the different shirts. And my mom was like, you can get 2 shirts. And I'm like, I'm like weighing them. And, at this time, but like the shirts are like $20-$25 a piece, which is still pretty expensive for a shirt, especially then.
Back in the day,
yeah.
But like being told I can get 2 shirts, and
I'm going to figure out what to pick out.
I mean, it took me pretty much that whole 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I got Undertaker's loved by few, hated by many, respected by all.
Nice.
And I got the Rock's Get Ready, Your Candy Ass is Next.
Another really good one.
Two solid choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were they pitted up against? What were the other choices? Do you remember? Got to be a DX one out there.
There was during that time, no. There was no DX, because I mean we were past the Attitude Era, going into the Ruthless Aggression, and not quite back into the DX second
reunion.
Run.
Yeah,
right.
I'm surprised that they didn't just keep them up. Those things would have kept selling forever.
Yes.
Well, I mean I think they learned that now with Austin 316, NWO, the DX. I mean those shirts are still selling. Like you have to have those shirts. I think at the time, I know for a fact, there was a Goldust t-shirt that was just Goldust's face on it. There was the Undertaker's Big Evil shirt that had the big devil on the back of it.
Red skull?
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what else. Austin had walked out earlier that year, so there wasn't any Austin stuff in there.
Yeah.
What about Kurt Angle? Was Kurt Angle in there? It's damn true.
Yes, Kurt Angle's "I'll Make You Tap Out," if I'm correct, was still in there. Like it was They didn't have any on my side because that was the shirt I actually wanted, but it was like, extra small and small were the only two sizes available.
Dude, that's not even like who makes an extra small shirt? Who the fuck's wearing extras? I've never met a person that wears an extra small.
Yeah, I don't can't say I have.
No.
But I mean, it was just cool being a young wrestling fan, being able to walk into that place, and it was like fucking Christmas.
Was it crowded?
No, no. I mean, I think it was probably like the day or two before Thanksgiving, or maybe the day or two after.
Okay.
And I mean, it was lunchtime, so everyone in Manhattan's either working or, well, I mean, I shouldn't say everyone because it's busy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the WWE store is a very niche store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like last year, I was in Tampa at Side Splitters Comedy Club, and I drove to Clearwater Beach to go to Hogan's restaurant.
How was
And
that?
it was really okay. It was the overpriced cheeseburger. I think the burger was like $18. Actually, you know what? I should have put the hold on, 1 second.
No, this is what we're doing, Fluff.
Got my Hogan Beach Shop hat on.
Oh yeah? Let me see.
Yeah,
get out of the way.
right there.
Nice.
How was his store?
It was cool. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
small. It was really small. The Clearwater Beach one's small. I think the Orlando one's pretty big. But having said that, I was the only person in the store at the time because it's one of those places where it's like, oh shit, I have to run back out. I forgot to buy something at Hogan's store. Like it's one thing to be like, oh, I got to run back out to Home Depot. I forgot a couple things. Like, that not too many people make a second trip to Hogan's store.
Yeah.
Yes. Was he there when you went there?
No, but they did have a signs up saying that Hogan does constantly come into the stores, and if you're lucky enough to see him, he is willing to take a picture with you.
For
I'm sure.
That'll be 400, brother.
Yeah.
Wait, Taker's doing 400? That'll be 600, brother.
Yeah. Taker broke my neck at first. What a fucking thing. I did say though, when Hulk dies, I'm really looking forward to his obituary to see if they put all of his stories as if they were fact. Like Hogan's the only person who wrestled 400 days in a year. I just sent something to a friend of mine too about something Hogan said, and he's a total Hogan hater. And again, I get it. Hogan's a terrible person. But I was like, this doesn't even crack like the top 100 crazy things that Hogan has said.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's like, his story about wrestling in Wembley Stadium easily has like 6 of the top 20 in it, because every time he tells a story, he just adds in more and more details.
Yeah.
Where, I was doing Make-A-Wishes with Mr. T and Michael Jackson, which late 80s, early 90s, you would imagine somebody would have a picture of that. Wrestled in Wembley, which is something he never did. Wrestled at SummerSlam, which, clearly he didn't do. The Make-A-Wish kid smelled like cabbage. That was a new little thing he added in.
Little tidbit.
Yeah, then I'm wrestling my match, and I look over and he's not there. He died, brother. He's just
1 second. Keep going.
Yeah, I've never been more surprised by all this stuff that has come out, more and more of his stories. Like I didn't, obviously as like a teenager and all, you don't hear those things, and then now that he's older, it's like you start hearing them, and shit doesn't add up, and you're just like, what is this guy talking about?
I remember watching Hogan Knows Best when he was talking about the George Foreman grill.
Yes.
And he was like, your mom wasn't home, so she had me pick you up from school.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I missed out on the grill. I had to get the pasta maker.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking, like, those bastards, why would they not leave a message? Why wouldn't they give Hogan like 20 minutes to call him back?
Yeah.
And as I'm getting older, I'm like, I don't think that's how any of this works.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Hogan didn't answer. We're gonna call Foreman instead, and we'll just do it with him. Like, no, that's not how it fucking works at all.
Yeah, and then on top of that, now you actually have people like coming through. It's like, no, we the Foreman people, like the grill people, were like, no, we never had Hulk in mind ever.
Yeah,
it's he's a constant. Everything is a work to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's also funny to think like when you watch the Vince documentary, and you got Hogan there. And he was like, I was doing movies and shows, but man, I really missed wrestling, brother. It's like bullshit. You missed it.
Yeah, no,
it's
you
like,
didn't.
Dude, you used to go on before intermission, so you can have your 8-minute match, and so you get to the hotel and get your room service. Don't give me the shit that you miss wrestling.
Yeah,
he misses money and provides him.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like, dude, if he had The Rock's career, do you think we would ever see him in the wrestling ring? In the wrestling world ever again? No.
Yeah. If they were giving him like $4 million an appearance, you would see him.
Maybe for that, but I mean, are they offering The Rock $4 million appearance?
No, but that's what it would take if they really wanted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Like if they offer, like Hogan's not coming back for like nothing. He's not coming back because he loves it. He's coming back because he got a payday and a very handsome that.
But WWE, they're like, oh, thank God he said the N-word so many times. We can get it for cheap. He's become a Scientologist? Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's a born again now, right? Because he's put in the water?
Yep.
Yeah, baptized.
Wait, he's baptized and he's a Scientologist now too?
Well, he was I think his new wife is a Scientologist. I think Scientologists tend to recruit people who aren't very intelligent, and something tells me Hogan's right up their alley.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think. What was the other crazy?
Give him back there, be like he tries to come in. They're like, no.
Yeah,
got enough problems.
You're too crazy for us. We don't need you.
On the other side. We're too busy dealing with the Danny Masterson shit. Right
yeah. I also think it's kind of funny where it's like every time Jesse Ventura has talked over the last 30 years, he's always found a reason to be like, and let me tell you what a piece of shit Hulk is.
Yes.
Yep. Jesse, how was your day today? Hogan fucked up the whole union thing.
Well,
he was my friend.
That's Brett Goldberg all over.
Oh, dude,
that's Brett Goldberg.
I love watching Brett just talk about anything in general. Like Brett's the guy Conrad needs to do a podcast with.
It would be great.
And just like
it would be great.
Every episode just be on a different person that Brett hates.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that was a fun 6 hours. Come back next week for part 2.
I don't know. I think I would listen to it still.
I would.
I Hate You with Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's been how many conventions now where it's like him and Bischoff are there and they've agreed, like, we'll say hello to each other. We're not going to fight with each other. We're not going to argue. Let's just be cordial.
Yeah.
And like Bischoff's like 10 feet away from him. Yeah, but like Bischoff's like 10 feet away from him in a panel, and like they give like Brett a microphone. He's like, let me tell you what a dumb piece of shit Eric Bischoff is. What a dumb maggot. He is worthless. At least he's consistent.
Yeah, he is.
Brett stayed in WWE. WWF.
Yeah.
It was such a dumb move on his part.
I mean,
he would have had
Vince couldn't keep him.
Vince could have. I mean, he had the money to.
Yeah.
Brett carried that company for a while too.
That's a what if, man. And that's the thing I point out where I'm like, man, so many of Brett's matches age well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could like him and Austin at WrestleMania 13, thank you.
Yeah.
You can turn it on right now and it'd be like that could be on Raw. Like that could be on WrestleMania this year.
Absolutely.
That's one of my go-to matches if I ever get in a wrestling funk.
Yeah. But
so before we close this out, like promised, we got to talk Boy Meets World. Because, like I said, on your profile, it says Boy Meets World historian, and you're talking to two very, very big fans of Boy Meets World and
Philadelphia, you're right.
Of course, TGIF, and like that's our wheelhouse. So,
yes.
What makes you this Boy Meets World historian?
Well, first off, I just want to say I watched it since day one. That first TGIF. What's that?
Day one-ish or day
one?
one?
Day one, yeah. Well, day one is not H. If you remember that little thing from. So I mean, I always love Boy Meets World, and when the pandemic hit, me and one of my buddies, who we were actually friends like 20 years earlier, and then didn't see each other, and then met back up in life through the craziest things. And actually, his mom had to point out to us how we knew each other, kind of thing. So turns out he's a huge wrestling fan. He's a huge comic book fan. He's a huge Boy Meets World fan. And then one day, we were just texting with each other, and we're like, "What if we start a Boy Meets World podcast?" So this is, which I don't know if you can read, Boy Meets World. And I took notes on every episode of Boy Meets World.
Wow.
So my problem with the podcast was there were slight issues. One, I wanted to keep the episodes 30 minutes long because, like, let's try not to make the episode longer than what the actual episode of the show was. It's one of those things where I'm like, this is going to be my first real attempt at a podcast, so it's probably going to suck. But but if it's going to teach you what you want to do with it, in the future, what you want to do more. So I was like, let's go into this. I think I was trying to be too much like Conrad Thompson on the show, where I was like, let's break down the show piece by piece here.
Yeah.
When what we should have done was talk about 2 or 3 major points of the show. Laugh about different things too, but also like, okay, how does this affect us? And because I watch that show now, and I still remember what it was like watching it as a kid, but now I also have the pleasure of being able to watch it now as a parent, as a kid that's grown up.
Yeah.
So knowing what it was like, those situations, knowing what it was like going through it at that age, having the benefit of hindsight, and now being able to watch my kids eventually go through that and hope to God that I don't screw it up. Kind of thing. Because I mean, that show was just so before its time. I mean, that first season, Topanga in one of the episodes sits down during the Pledge of Allegiance out of protest.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking 20 years before Kaepernick does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe more.
I mean, and the way how they talked about, and also watching it during the pandemic, and you're watching the Black Lives Matter protest, and you can't help but to see some of the violence that happened at some of them too. And you go back and you watch the episode from the first season where Corey becomes the teacher for Mr. Feeney, for that week, and they're learning about Anne Frank, and he then sees Eric's girlfriend at that time go through a racist thing at the mall where somebody called her a name and whatnot. It was like not many shows were doing that. Not any shows are doing that now, especially for kids. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, the way how some of those episodes still hit you, man.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Like Mr. Turner in the hospital, and Ryder Strong gives the performance of a lifetime, when he's talking to John, and then he, don't blow me off, God. And and then a couple seasons later when his dad dies.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Again, Ryder, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about this as he's talking to his brother, like, you weren't there hoping that one night he'd turn off the TV and look at you and say something. You weren't there, hoping that he wouldn't stumble home drunk and wondering what's going on. And the moment between him and his dad where he goes, "Was I not good enough for you?" And for Chet Hunter to say, "No, son, I wasn't good enough for you." And give Sean that validation. Now, did you guys watch Girl Meets World?
I did.
I watched a little bit of it.
So I watched the first episode when it first came out and was very disappointed. And I was like, and I was turned it off. And after a while, I was like, well, the only reason I don't like it is because it's not the episode that I wrote in my head.
Yeah.
And then realize I'm like, this is a different show.
Mm-hmm.
It's familiar characters, but it's a different show. And I was able to go back and watch it again and watch it with this whole new appreciation. And the way that they were able to give some of the characters the endings that they deserved.
Closure.
Like, again, and I go back to Sean and I go back to how Ryder Strong did these performances. And he didn't end up with Angela, which I love.
Yeah.
I love that because almost nobody ends up with their high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to where I've had friends marry their high school sweetheart, and I'm watching them go through the divorce with their high school sweetheart right now. And I that's the one thing I kind of, if again, I'm writing it as 2024 Dan, I would have Corey and Topanga break up.
Huh.
Whoa.
I would have Corey and Topanga break up. She would have went to Yale, and we would have seen him with Lauren.
Huh.
And part of me really wish that they'd done like this alternative timeline where
what if that would happen?
What if Corey went with Lauren kind of thing. And who knows, maybe in the end still have them come back together. Like, hey, we met other people, we dated other people, and fate just happened to bring these two, whatever.
Like in their 40s?
Maybe. Why not?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing you say about that and like that, I always rooted. Now looking back as an adult, I'm one of the very, very, very little statistics that I am. My wife is my high school sweetheart. We met when we were we met when we were 14, and we've been married. We've been married since 2011. So so watching it as an adult is, even though I know it's going to happen, like I root for Corey and Topanga because I've done it. Like, you know what I mean? I've been through it. And so like, I love that ending. You know what I mean? I love and then watching Girl Meets World and you get to see how far they've come, and now they have the kids and he's trying to teach them like that, at least in my position, which again, not many people can do it. It's very hard to do. But yeah, that's one thing I always rooted for anyway.
I will say this, the way how they ended Girl Meets World with everyone together at the end, I thought was beautiful.
Yeah.
And because if you remember, correct me if I'm wrong, it ended with Topanga getting the job over in London.
Yes.
And, kind of a throwback to the original series where, what is she going to do? Now Corey's making the big jump for her again. Because, they moved to New York after she gave up Yale.
Yeah.
And so I know I just said I would have had them broken up, but this is part of the beauty of it too, is that she did that one big thing for Corey forever ago, and he will always do the big thing for her. And that's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great way to end it.
And I'm gonna just do a slight segue. Did you ever watch Modern Family, either of you?
No, I've seen episodes. I've never got into it though.
I've seen episodes of it, but not straight.
Okay.
That's the one with Neil, right?
Yes. So there was the daughter Haley, and in I think the first episode you meet her boyfriend. And as the show goes on, character development and everything like that, he's like this loser throughout the show, but she keeps finding her way back to him. And he really doesn't have that many redeeming qualities. Like he's not like a bad guy, he's just, a lazy piece of shit kind of person. I was so disappointed because you saw her grow so many different times that they ended it with her just winding up with him anyway. I was like, man, you had a chance to do something so much bigger with this character and you just didn't. But hey, that's life sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. So I do, before we close out, I'm going to get three Boy Meets World questions for you. One, favorite all-time episode.
Boy.
I mean, you named a couple really good ones, but
okay, so the episode where Corey joins the wrestling team and ends up having to wrestle Vader.
Okay. I thought that was like an easy pick. I wasn't sure if you were going to go for that or not, but
but because it was perfect, because the way how Feeney got in the ring afterwards.
Yeah.
And called him Leslie, which we all know his name was Leon. Okay, but it's a sitcom. It's fun. I give that one the nudge because I do think about that. I will say I think the funniest moment of the show, and I will put this as one of the funniest moments in all of sitcom history. Do you remember where he goes to Disney World?
Mm-hmm.
And and Eric is bringing around that curly-headed doll with him.
Yeah.
And he shoves him in the locker, and Mr. Feeney catches him and goes, "Mr. Matthews, did you put your brother in the locker?" And he goes, "Well, why would I put my brother in the locker? I don't know." But then Mr. Feeney, somebody, turns away for a second. Eric grabs the doll and throws him, and then he shows Mr. Feeney the empty locker. He goes, "Well, why would I want to do this? Again, I don't know. I just think that's one of the funniest moments in television history.
See,
well done by Will Friedle. Well done by Bill Daniels.
The funny thing is, my wife as well. We will go on YouTube and we'll find like these bloopers and stuff. But one of the funniest from Boy Meets World, and I'm still in tears laughing, is when he wants to pick Eric as his best man for his wedding.
Oh my God!
And he picks him up in the dorm room and he kicks the candle over. And
the curtains are on fire.
I mean, I swear to God, still, me and my wife, tears, and they're chopping down the door. I'm telling you, that gets me every single time. So
I loved how later in the episode he was like, he lights the candle in his parents' house. He goes, "Ow, hot," and throws it in the fire department.
Yeah,
and he's just sitting on the couch with Corey as the world is melting around him.
Yeah.
Sparklers are fun.
Yeah.
Eric, Eric was normal. Then he went like full,
complete dumbass. Like
right around the fourth season. Yeah.
That was really weird. His
once he met Jack, it was like a slow.
Yeah.
It turned him into like a bumbling idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like it that much.
I did like how if you remember the episode where they had to tutor the football player who went to Penn.
Yeah.
And Eric Ray spent the money that they gambled.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in there in the bike and he's asking Mr. Feeney, "What if he scores a 70? Good. What if he scores a 50? Bad. What if he scores an 80? Good. What if he scores a 20? And Mr. Feeney, "Oh, come on. Okay. What if he scores a 20? Which, okay, one more thing about that too. The fact in Girl Meets World, when Eric comes back and he is in the Plays with Squirrel gimmick.
Yes.
Was amazing.
Yeah. Great.
Because
callback.
It was like, because remember the whole point of that episode where he shows up is, what if no one in that room talks to each other ever again?
Yeah.
And you see the different roads that they all take in life.
Yes.
It's just amazing that no matter what road happened, Eric was still going to wind up like
Plays with Squirrels. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was actually we ended up with Mark and Dan Meets World was the name of the podcast, but I
Nice.
wanted it to be Mark and Dan Plays with Squirrels.
That's a good one.
That was it.
You know what? It was just my buddy made the he drew out the promo for it, and we haven't done the podcast in years, unfortunately. But he drew out the logo for it, and the Mark and Dan Meets World was perfect because it was like the both of us like up against the world, kind of like in the season 2.
I got you.
Graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you answered the other question. One of the other questions was, what was the funniest moment for you? And finally, if you can do this, is what was your least favorite, the worst Boy Meets World episode you've ever seen?
Way to end it on depressing.
If there is one, there doesn't have to be one.
Maybe
I'm sure. I'm sure there was.
Or maybe your least favorite anyway. Maybe not worst.
You know what? I didn't like the way how they ended it by doing the packages of like the look how far we've come.
Mm.
You know, like the memories.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I think as a kid I liked it, but as an adult I feel like
easy.
Yeah.
Or kind of like just kind of phony it in a little bit.
A little, because right before they did that, and it was like so the package episodes were like it was like an hour-long show they aired that Friday night, but it's 2 30-minute shows if you go on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So the episode before that was the episode where Angela says goodbye to Sean.
Yeah.
And you saw how much care they put into that. And I get that you wanted them all to say goodbye to each other.
Yes.
And it sucks because I'm shitting on the episode, but it for as shitty as it was, they ended it pitch perfect with all of them in the classroom.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God.
That original classroom from the first season in middle school. And Mr. Feeney giving them the one last lesson of do good, try, dream, do good. And Topanga correcting his grammar.
Yeah.
You mean do well? No, do good, meaning do good into the world. Don't do well for yourself. Do good for.
Literally just got goosebumps as you said the line. Literally gave me goosebumps.
And the way how Topanga's crying, saying goodbye to him.
Yeah.
To Sean crying, and the years of them butting heads, especially in those first few seasons.
Yeah.
And even in I think it was that season where Corey pushes the professor.
Yeah.
And Sean goes, this guy's not like Feeney. He treats us better. And after, all the turmoil in their relationships, the way how Sean looks at him at the end and goes, you never gave up on me.
Mm-hmm.
To Eric saying, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I know I'm going to be a good person who cares about people. And I blame you for that. And the final moments with Corey.
Yeah.
Too. And, he won't tell them he loves them. And as soon as they leave the room, I loved you all.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tie that into the Girl Meets World episode where they're looking for the time capsule that they buried.
Mm-hmm.
And which we never got the episode, which is a fucking shame, by the way. We never got that in Boy Meets World. But they buried it in Feeney's backyard.
Yeah.
And he goes, we're looking for the time capsule. Do you remember that? And Mr. Feeney going, I remember everything. And, what do you have to say? He goes, well, it's all these years later and you're still together. And Bill Daniels is breaking as he's saying, and you hear the crying in his voice. What more do you need to know? And I'm going to end that by saying what a piece of shit that Ben Savage is for cutting out everyone in Boy Meets World from his life right now. Because there's no reason not every single one of them shouldn't be like brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way of ending it.
Yeah.
You know, real touching, real sentimental, and Ben Savage is a piece of shit. I like that.
Ben, fuck you for ruining everything. I'm still mad fuck, I have his autograph. I can't even think of his name. Austin St. John for being such a piece of shit to the Power Rangers that Jason David Frank did not want to be his friend.
I say the way that we run things here, that was the perfect ending.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
100%. Yeah. So
that was the swerve.
Yeah. So Dan, thank you so much for taking the time, extended time. I did not expect this, but great nonetheless. Yeah. And listen, anything like your socials or anything where you're going to be, let everybody know. And
anything that's coming up.
Yeah, so on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, I am at X Dan Brown, letter X Dan Brown. On Facebook, I am at Dan Brown Comedy. On YouTube, I'm at Dan Brown Comedy. This time of the year is mostly like corporate gigs, so you don't do too many public shows. But December 13th and 14th, I'll be in Goshen, Indiana, at the new Funny Farm Comedy Club. And let's see, just want to make sure when I'm actually in Harrisburg, that is absolutely in January. That is going to be January 10th and 11th. I'll be at Harrisburg, at the Harrisburg Comedy Zone. February 21st, I'll be in Negaunee, Michigan. There's a pizzeria up there. I love doing that room. And then the next night, I'm in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, at the bowling alley there. Also an awesome time. Two of my favorite rooms to do. But yeah, just follow me on my socials and interact with me on Twitter whenever you see me bitching about the Cleveland Browns or retweeting whatever's going on in wrestling.
Hold on, wait. I want to end it one way because we never asked this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
shame on us.
Yeah.
But who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Is it Roman?
Is it
Because you
Roman?
did kind of say that, but all time.
I think Roman is now. I'll say it like this: pre-Roman, it was The Rock.
Okay.
But I think The Rock used up a lot of goodwill with his fans along the way. And having said that, I think his final boss character is my all-time favorite Rock. I think because it takes a little bit of both, the fun Rock, you know what I mean, and mixes it with Hollywood Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would watch the documentary, like the one that they put out about WrestleMania this past year.
Yeah.
That at first it was supposed to like come out like a week after WrestleMania, and it was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. But then they're like, no, we shot so much footage, and it took months. And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna make like a series out of this. This is gonna be great. And then we got the 1 hour episode, and it's essentially The Rock going, hey, look how I fixed the thing I broke.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Aren't I awesome? And
yeah. I am the savior of WWE.
And it's like you don't see him like trying to convince Muhammad Ali's wife, like, listen, you're going to give me this belt as if it's a gift from you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whatever dumb bullshit that was. Yeah, I'll give Rock the pre-Roman.
Okay.
Dan Brown thumb up approval.
So you were always in the tribe. Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm an extended member of the bloodline. Just don't tell Manu. I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me at an indie event like you just did to somebody.
So Dan, thank you so much once again. It was great talking to you. Hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. If you come through Philly, definitely let us know. We will, or Philly area, something like that. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Thank you for watching and listening. And we'll be talking to you very soon. Don't take any shit from anybody. See you, everybody.